good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, depending on what time you see this. Who am I? My name is Tracy, and I am one half of the Holy Woman. Why the Holy Woman? Because my partner and I, we feel that to feel complete, to be who we were always meant to be, we need to feel whole. So we created our Holy Woman Becoming Holy experience community. My side of the street is helping women with their external. Now, I live in the coaching world online, and I do realize that some of the people that I'm talking to may not know what that is. So why listen to me? I don't know. Maybe you shouldn't. All I can do is speak from my experience and hope that some of us Gen Xer women, some of you Gen Xer women, understand where we're coming from and why we are doing what we are doing. Down in the States where my partner is from, Dawn, it seems like women's rights are just getting rolled back and rolled back and rolled back to the point where it feels like women are seen as objects, not worthwhile, being devalued. And if anything, I feel that aging out, us Gen Xers are on the younger end, we're hitting perimenopause. On the older end, we are postmenopause, and then there's everything in between. And I feel like we are, while we kind of feel like the forgotten generation, I mean, the reality is we probably are, because so many of us were latchkey kids. I myself wasn't as latchkey as some of my friends, but we are starting to come into our own. We are seriously developing a fuck it bucket. We have no fucks to give. For many of us, if you are on TikTok and have seen it, we all, in one way or another, belong to this we do not care club. And the reality is we don't. So if we don't care, why am I here? Why am I trying to get you to care about your outer appearance? Because the reality is that we're dressing the way that we want, and we are making no apologies for that. But here's where I sort of feel there's something a little lost. If you are in the coaching world online, or mental health being what it is, kind of at an all-time high of people struggling with burnout, and maybe I think it's the sandwich generation is the other one that we're called, where we're looking after aging parents, and maybe the kids haven't quite left home yet, or they're about to leave home. And who are we without those titles of mom and caregiver? And a lot of us are lost, or at least I was for some time. I still have a young child at home. He's only 10. I had him much later in life. I'm going to be 52 this year. But I'm not quite in that sandwich yet. My parents are still functioning. They are still able-bodied. They can still get around. We haven't hit that point where I may have to be a caregiver for them. But what I have discovered over the last few years of living in the online coaching space is that if you've watched any of our previous YouTube videos, we talk a lot about, or we mention that in our space, you are either dealing with business or money or mindset, right? Like figuring out why certain things might trigger you, which is a big coaching word right now. A lot of people are talking about it. Or you get someone who deals with the outside, right? Like maybe they deal with style, or, something similar along those lines. Never together. So we have created a community that comes together. My side of the street is the external piece. You might come to me after you've worked with Dawn for a little while as she deals with the mindset piece. But how did we get here? I got here because I always was kind of the good girl. I wore what I thought was expected of me. I wore what I thought was comfortable. I wore what I thought was me. And over the years, whether it was side-eye, someone actually saying something about whatever I was wearing and how it looked, or just this uncomfortable feeling of, oh, I don't know if I like that, and judging others, how they would dress. I realized that I didn't really know what I liked. And on the few occasions that I did kind of fall in love with something, and I'm going to use a corset as an example because I have been sort of accumulating the odd corset here and there, I loved them. But every time I put one on, I maybe felt a little uncomfortable because it was different, wasn't what anybody else was wearing, and I would get those side eyes. And so I stopped. And consequently, I, again, fell back into what's comfortable, what's expected, what's trendy, and never really felt like me. Now, I left my child's dad, and basically anything that was associated with him, I threw out the window. I wasn't going to wear that anymore. And so then I started the process of, what does it mean to be mid-40s, single mother, and dressing in a way that was both work appropriate and comfortable for a young child, like to run around after a toddler. It still took me some time to figure it out. And here we are now, almost 10 years later. I discovered human design, which is a modality that I now use to help other women find their authentic style. My authentic style is to experiment. But what I have discovered over the course of the last 2 or 3 years is that I don't always like to experiment with my style. What I like to experiment with is different glasses, my makeup, my hair. So I do tend to have a little bit of a uniform when it comes to my actual clothing, but I do still experiment. Tonight I'm in a tank top because I am melting. It is so hot where I am right now. But to zhuzh up a casual tank top, I threw on a little necklace. And that's my definition of experimenting with my style. If I was going out, I might throw on some capri pants or some jeans. I might throw on some leggings and some thigh-high boots. It just really depends on the weather and how I'm feeling. And that's how I dress as me. But over the course of the years, so many women don't know what they want because the beauty and fashion industry always talk about youth, youth, youth. Thin, thin, thin. No wrinkles, Botox, all that stuff. Now, I'm not slamming Botox. If that's for you, it's for you. It's just not for me. I'm all about however you feel the youiest you, then you go out and do that. And I will be your biggest cheerleader for that. But entering perimenopause, and for those who are in menopause, and even post-menopause, things droop. They expand. Nothing fits the way that it used to. And so then we get stuck in baggy clothes, hoodies, Lululemons, Uggs, all of that stuff. And again, if it's how you feel, your youiest you, go nuts. It is not my idea of fun, but I am never going to tell someone not to wear it. Don't do it. It looks awful, because what I like is not what you like. And it's my job as a coach, as a mentor, to help you find what aligns with you and how you want to feel and your lifestyle. You can have comfort without always defaulting to oversized t-shirts, oversized hoodies, and leggings. That's not to say that they don't have a time and a place. I get it. I got a 10-year-old. I'm running around chasing him all the time, sending him off on play dates. We're biking. We're on the beach. We're doing all sorts of things. I'm out in the rain watching him play soccer. I don't always want to be dressed up in heels. But what I discovered about me was the longer I went dressing like that, whether it was jogging pants or leggings and runners and hoodies and t-shirts, I found I kind of shrunk and came in on myself, and I just didn't want to be seen. And to hold my head up high, I had to dress a little differently. So my go-to is boots, runners, ballet flats, jeans, t-shirts, tank tops, and any combination thereof. Occasionally I will throw on some leggings and I will throw on some thigh-high boots, but it's not always my go-to. It's how I feel the most me. And sometimes I got to throw in a little sexy. Sometimes I got to throw on a corset. Sometimes I got to throw on a body harness. But again, that's a few years of discovering. So it's now, and I can't describe the feeling of finally finding something that is comfortable and that feels me. And now I'm not out fussing about with my clothing when I really want to be present for my child. So that is what I wish for all women, is to not feel like you're having to shrink, not feeling like you've got to squeeze yourself into a trend that is like all the rage when you are just not feeling it. Because you know what? It's okay to admire or like what a trend looks like. It's another thing entirely to then realize and accept that it's not for you. It's okay for a 20 or 30-year-old, but as we are entering our 50s and 60s, it's okay to say, you know what? That's not for me. And then we turn around and we find something else. So that is just a little bit about me. Ask me any questions. I hope that you like, comment, share. Dawn and I are really trying to get our subscription list up to 50 so that we can actually start going live and hosting some Q&As with our subscription base. And we also have a community that right now is sitting at only about $47 a month for the two of us. And we will be going live in the group a couple times a week. So you're going to be getting coaching and courses and all sorts of things throughout the month for the cost of a few coffees a week, every 2 weeks, depending on how much you like your coffee. But yes, I am an open book. Anything you want to know, let me know. If you're more curious about human design, drop any sort of questions you have below and I will do my best to answer, or we'll do a training on it here on YouTube. But yeah, that's just a little about me and why I think all women should stop disappearing in their clothes. They were not meant to be behind the scenes, although as caregivers, that's what we do. But now we are entering our crone era, our wisdom era, our healing, teaching, you know, all of the things that women used to do back in the days before working full-time jobs. And I think we need to really own that. I think we all need to come together, because if I have learned nothing from the last few years of women competing and being catty and all of those things, it's because patriarchy, the PTB as I like to call them, the powers that be, don't want women to come together. And I think now is the time that we need to. Now is the time that we need to stand up. And I want us all to look absolutely drop dead amazing while we do it. So that's me for now. I will see you all later on the interwebs.